welcome to another HardDrive XL DL Rock and Roll Roundtable discussion. Dear God, that's a mouthful. I'm your friend and humble narrator, Lou Brutus, joined this time around by both Dirty Honey and the Black Moods. Gentlemen, if you would, introduce yourselves all the way around and tell me exactly where you are as I'm inundated by screens.
Yeah, what's up? It's Marc from Dirty Honey. I am in Los Angeles right now, and I'm freshly off a camping trip from Yosemite National Park, and I'm currently resting and recuperating from a pain in my ass and legs like I've never felt after hiking for so long.
All right, where's everybody else?
Hey, what's up? It's John from Dirty Honey. I'm in Mammoth Lakes right now on the beginning of a camping trip. But fortunately, there's a nice in-town vibe here, so we're having margaritas and doing this Zoom interview.
And Chico, you got the whole gang there, it looks like.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We're in the this is Josh from the Black Moods, Jordan and Chico, Jordan. Hey. But we're in the Ozarks, actually, in southwest Missouri. We packed up our whole studio in Phoenix because it was, 115 degrees there right now, 120 degrees. So we just packed up and moved it to our label head's house here in Monette, Missouri, and we've been recording. And we went to the creek, actually, this weekend.
Yeah, we too were camping.
It's the thing to do.
The answer is probably no, but I will ask, has anybody been buying or selling large amounts of heroin on the boats and the lakes there, or anything you've heard about?
Just us.
but do you get to do it with Laura Linney? Because boy, oh boy, to be lost in the Ozarks with Laura Linney would be like a dream come true.
Yeah, they're few and far between around that,
Well, you know what? Let's keep it there with you guys, and let's talk about the new music, because I think you are working with some fairly interesting people there in your Ozark surroundings.
Well, it's funny because our record just came out May 8th, and since there's no touring, we just went right back. There's nothing else to do, and we just quarantined together because we're always together anyway. So we just started working, and Eddie Kramer from who I've met a few years back in Los Angeles. He's quarantined in Toronto, and so he kind of took over our studio here with audio movers with some software. So he's been producing a track for us, which has been really awesome. So.
And Eddie Kramer, we should mention, I first became aware of him when I was a little kid buying Kiss albums, which he engineered, and he has since become just one of the top engineers and producers in the world. When you first meet a guy like that who has worked with so many bands and done this for so long, what are the sorts of things, A, musically that you want to do with him that you pick his brain about, but B, do you start asking him tell me about Paul Stanley's guitar sound and all this fanboy stuff?
Yeah, we went right for the heart of it. We're like, so with Led Zeppelin, and they got drunk and gave you a hard time all the time. How did that work out? That kind of. But he's got some really good stories, but a lot of it was just to get those tones that he got on those classic records that we loved, that type of thing. It was just what was really nice about it, because I've worked with him in other studios in Los Angeles, but it was like Ocean Way or East West, to where you only get a few days, and you've got engineers in there that are setting stuff up and tearing it down. Well, we got to set everything up like he did when he was tracking, the Stones or Zeppelin or these guys, and we got to just kind of really get to live in it. So we're just recording our balls off and using, we didn't have to break it down after 3 days. So
we kept all of his tricks.
We got his tricks,
all of his knobs and everything that he that he uses to make
snap.
Oh yeah, hell yes,
Exactly.
Well, John and Marc, over to you guys. You guys are also working on new music, and it's funny, not funny, because you guys were hitting such an incredible stride of late, and it's interrupted by all of this, what I call the current unpleasantness. So please bring us up to date on the work you're doing and how everybody's doing things apart when you're not out camping or, taming the wilderness.
Yeah, we actually rented a little rehearsal space up in the valley right after we found out Australia's borders were closed and that we weren't going to be going there to record anytime soon. So we just we were getting together pretty often, and just despite not that's not recommended getting together, obviously. But yeah, we were still getting together and writing music and just creating a larger wealth of material for when we do get the opportunity to go into the studio. And, we're still trying to figure that out with our producer, because just borders being closed and everything between Australia and the US, and even like in the States within Australia, like they're pretty strict about moving within their own countries. So it's not looking too good in the very near future. But we've been experimenting with some Zoom sessions and stuff that we're actually not that hyped about.
It sucks.
So.
That's the official musical term for it.
Yeah.
That's it's a bit of terminology.
Yeah, how do you say, it sucks? It's not that the information isn't exchanged, but, nothing replaces being in the room with somebody.
So, yeah,
especially if you've already been in the room with them, and, already having made the record with Nick, and then and doing these Zoom sessions. We got some stuff done, but it's
not ideal.
Yeah.
And again, I would imagine it's harder to keep track of things, like keeping tracks of lyrics and song pieces when you're in the writing process can be a bit of a task. I would think the fact that you're all spread out and everybody's out of their usual sort of workflow has really got to screw things up.
Well, actually, Dirty Honey, a lot of the way we operate anyway is, in terms of writing songs, is actually, a lot of it starts with somebody sending their own little tidbit to the next person. And Marc being the hub where he's the vocalist, Justin and I are always kind of sending him stuff. So it sounds weird, but it isn't that much different. Like we didn't always come up with stuff by jamming, like endlessly and then picking like the 8 bars that don't sound like shit. So we actually, like I will slave over a riff until I think it's good enough to send to Marc. So I'm always trying to hit a home run each time. So in that sense, that part's not that much different. It's just the inability to regularly get together and execute it. Like by the time the point is that by the time the band gets together, a lot of times we're like, okay, we know what we're going to work on, kind of thing. We get together and we're like, all right, let's work on these 3 riffs. Let's work on this half a song we got. Let's work on this. Let's just play this other one that we think is great. Is it still great? Sometimes somebody will make a full demo on their own, and a lot, then when you play with the band, it's kind of not as cool. Or it's cooler, You have to always test it with the band, but we kind of start passing things around via voice memos and those types of things. So that part hasn't been that much different.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of talk with Nick Diaz down there in Australia, that, hey, we can fly there and quarantine for 3 weeks and then get all together and work? I imagine stuff every day.
Yeah, so we were prepping to go, and then as things were getting more dire, I was like, let's just go right now. Let's get out of here. And everybody was rightfully so getting more and more sketched out about getting stuck in a foreign country and not being able to get home again. And then before we could really pull the trigger on anything, it just Australia locked down, and that wasn't an option anymore. And then we had to start playing the waiting game, so to speak. But yeah, we definitely tried to go and make it happen, but things just changed too fast.
Back over to you guys there in the Ozarks. If you could walk us a little bit further into workflow and what a day is like for you lately, and what is the day like with your producer stuck in Canada? Kind of bring us through what life is for you guys these days.
Well, we start with about 12 or 18 pack. And then,
Coffee and Bailey's first.
Yeah, coffee and Bailey's, and work our way into. We're lucky because of Tony here. Like, he's got this beautiful house where I grew up kind of in this area, you know. So, but we all kind of have a room here, and it helps that he does have a bar in the house. That's right there. Let's get that out of the way. But we have the ability to where, like I said,
John's digging that.
Yeah. But so there's the basement. Yeah, that's you out there? Are you knocking on the door already?
I can catch a flight over, I think.
But we have the basement down here where we have like one of those like the Questlove breakbeats kits, you know, and then we have like our little small practice amps. So you know, like the guys were saying, you just have a collection of voice memos that you kind of just mess around with, and everybody just kind of play their own ideas. And then just the point where we have the studio now, because the big room's upstairs, so we have the drums set up in this big open area, and so we can kind of work the songs out down here, and then we can go upstairs and we track, and we can come back and listen to them, and it just helps not having the you know, the studio cost. Kind of how we recorded the last record, Sunshine, in our own rehearsal space in Phoenix. When we worked with Johnny K, he just flew some gear out there and made it, you know, because we went and looked at a couple studios. Again, it's more comfortable and less pressure whenever we can just, you know, go until we just all kind of drop and pass out wherever we're sitting, you know, and then we get up and do it all over again. It's just nice here.
How often are you guys getting out in that area, and what are the locals like? Do they know who you are and what you're doing? Because, you know, nothing against Southwest Missouri. I've been there. It's very beautiful, and the people are super nice, but it's not usually known as like the rock and roll mecca of the world.
No. That's hence the reason why I had to get out of here, because like, not a budding rock scene in the Ozarks, you know.
He's like, well, it's really fucking boring.
There's nothing to concentrate on there but work.
But yeah, and it's cool because like Tony's got a pool here, so we can kind of work. If we get frustrated, it's like there's no rush, you know. Like there's no reason to, you know, to just wear ourselves out mentally if we come across hit a hump or anything. It's like, oh, let's breathe. Let's go to the pool, you know, because like the town I grew up in, which is next door, like 20 minutes away, it's only 600 people in that place. And then the town we're in right now only has, it's like 3,500, right? No, I think 9,000. Oh, it's the big city.
Yeah, wow.
The bustling metro.
Yeah. So, and then the creek's really close. And then Tony's got some boats at Table Rock Lake, which is just 30 minutes down the road. So it's one of those things where we're not just kind of, our quarantine, you know, it's not like the cities where everybody's on top of each other type of thing. Yeah. So, you know how it is, you said it's so small and that kind of thing. So it's been good for us to be able to get out and you know, enjoy the nature.
Scenery. Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah, because we work like 5 days a week, and then on the weekends we go play on the boats or the creeks or whatever, and we come back on Monday and start working again.
Yeah.
Nice.
When we were working with Eddie Kramer, we were getting up pretty early. We kind of have more of like a routine then than we normally do, actually. Like we would get up and we were on Zoom calls with him from like 11 a.m. until whatever time it was, like doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And it's, you know, it was like I said, it's Tony's house that we're in, so we kind of had to set it up as a studio. So it was working the bugs out the first, you know, day or so and getting all that kind of stuff wrung out so it could work. Because, again, we are in the Ozarks, so sometimes the internet's not as strong as we'd like it to be or that kind of thing.
They did pave the roads finally, so that's, you know, that's
hey,
good.
You know what's really cool? The town I grew up in finally got street signs last year.
Honestly,
so I finally know what street I grew up on.
I love it. I'm from Northern Maine. I know all these jokes.
I've been up
Did you just get cable? Did you just get cable up there? Yeah, all that shit.
Hey, what happened with the war? What will they do with the Kaiser? You know.
yeah, right.
Now, you know, I would be curious. Did you guys first meet at that Viper Room gig? I'm talking both your bands, and you can talk amongst yourself at this point. I'll just get out of the way. Did you first meet at the Viper Room, or had you guys gigged before that, or had you met before? I'd be curious how you all met for the first time.
Well, I knew Justin through the bass player for Dirty Honey. I played with them at those jams at the Viper Room that they had, the Sunset.
Yeah.
So I knew him.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
What?
I didn't know you guys knew each other then. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I knew him. Well, we both play bass, so naturally we weren't playing on the same song. But
Right.
we love each other. I actually, the reason how I met him, I mistook him from one of my friends because they both have the same hair. So I went up behind him and I was like, Nazim! And he turned around and I was like, you're not Nazim. What's up, dude?
Oh, Naz Funk, guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how do you know another guy who looks like Justin?
Yeah, it's that hair.
Do you know Slash?
Yeah, right. That's exactly it. Yeah. All the Slash jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Jordan, is there any chance you guys would, when you can return to doing jams there, maybe all the bass players can get together and do a multi-bass song like Big Bottom Spinal Tap? That's got 3 or 4 bass parts, man.
Let's do it.
I've had nightmares that consist of those things. Girl drummers.
It's the only one, right? That's the only repertoire of all
People
bass.
are getting rid of bass players now.
But have you guys, any of you guys met before that? Had you ever toured before or done anything before? Had adventures?
In Springfield, Missouri, I think.
Yeah, that's where I met you guys.
Yeah,
Right.
That's where I met you guys as well. That was Springfield? Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I remember that show.
Same dressing room, so we got to hang out most of the afternoon.
Yeah, that
and
was
night.
cool.
Yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah.
Loved it.
That was a fun day, and I actually really liked Springfield too. I had an awesome meal at some restaurant there. So
Yeah.
And Labelle, do you remember the radio guy?
yes,
He knew Diaz from like the 80s. Our manager. He knew our manager from the 80s.
Oh,
So he
no.
had great.
you can imagine the stories of being in the record industry in the 80s in rock and roll.
I feel like we need to stop
They're pretty good.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Really all
Yeah, it was great. Like his story, if you've ever met our manager, it makes sense. But he was like, he met him on the street. He was supposed to like meet up with him, and he didn't know who he was. And he saw our manager, and he stopped. He was like, "Are you the guy they call Dirt?" He was like, "Yeah, who the fuck are you?" Like, yeah, that's our manager.
By the way, getting back to the Viper Room real quick, is the gig happening for you guys still there on the 24th for Dirty Honey?
Yeah, so we're doing a streaming event on the 24th from there with KLOS, the big classic rock radio station here in LA. And we're going to do a full set, play some new music that obviously we can't record quite yet. But yeah, it should be pretty cool. We've done one other streaming thing, and I got really exhausted with like the people doing the Kumbaya fucking sing along on their couch early on during quarantine, and I was like, this just fucking isn't rock and roll. I don't care. I don't want to see Dave Grohl playing fucking acoustic. He's great at it, but I don't want to see Dave Grohl playing acoustic. There Goes My Hero, like in his fucking
Robe.
couch or whatever. I want to see him on a big stage with amps and shit. So we kind of made the decision pretty early on. We weren't going to do anything unless it was fucking cool or unique in some way or fucking full on amps, rock, concert vibe.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. And,
Good. And
So all my Kumbaya ideas went out the window.
and for folks who are not familiar with the Viper Room, I think most anybody in rock has heard about it, but tell me why it's a good room. The 2 things I'll say is when I first walked in, the first thing I said was, holy shit, it's really small, even by rock club standards. And it's sort of got a weird layout to it, but it's one that sort of pays off. Everybody kind of chime in on the Viper Room, if you would.
It has a curtain.
and a cool logo.
And a what?
It's got a great logo.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's got a ton of history. The room sounds good, and it's super intimate, obviously. And if you've ever gotten to see an act that you really like there, it's going to be your most memorable experience with that band or artist, whatever. So, and it's kind of it's a Sunset Strip club without like the connotation of the quote unquote 80s hair bands, which I personally like because I don't really dig 80s hair metal all that much. So I try and stay away from those.
And Tom Petty, whenever Johnny Depp first opened that place, he's the one that played it and opened the gig for him.
I just saw that in the Petty documentary that I watched. Actually, it was pretty cool. Yeah, and it was owned by Johnny Depp. Like, there's not many cooler Hollywood cats than that guy. So,
and he's also a great guitar player, by the way.
He's pretty good. We won't say great.
No!
We're not gonna say great.
Wait.
There goes the Hollywood Vampire Store.
On this call, you're going to use the word great?
Jimi Hendrix is great. Eddie Van Halen is great. Yeah. Jimmy Page is great. Let's not put Johnny Depp up there with those guys.
I get it. He's a great player for an actor.
He looks great. He looks like the rock star, that's for sure.
If you're not listening, it's no.
All right, and one last thing, and I'd like each of the five of you to take turns chiming in on this, and maybe it could be the Viper Room, maybe it could be someplace else, but give me the best example out of your life, whether as a kid or as a professional musician, the greatest big band you saw in a small, tiny, awesome venue. Marc, you want to start?
Yeah, I've got a really good one. I had a friend that still works for Live Nation, and I got a call. I was working in TV at the time, and I was on a location scout. And I got a call from this guy. He was like, "What are you doing at noon today?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I'm an hour outside of the city working." And he was like, "Well, you need to fucking get out of it right now." I was like, "Why? What's going on?" He's like, "We're doing a fucking promo show for Aerosmith. They're playing the Whiskey at 1 o'clock on the Sunset Strip with Slash. Like, Slash is in the band for the show because Brad Whitford was doing like a Hendrix tribute or something out of state." He's like, "Get down here." So I get down to the Whiskey, and my buddy Joey, there's a line of like, I don't know, 600-700 people or whatever trying to get in. He's like, "Text me when you get here." I just cut the line. I go into an empty Whiskey, and he was like, he just literally walked me right to the front of the stage. He's like, "You sit right here and don't move for the next 2 hours. You're going to have a fucking blast." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then they ripped through like an hour set with Slash. It was fucking the coolest thing I probably will ever see.
And by the way, Marc, before we move on, Slash, good or great?
Slash is great.
He's great. There we go.
We love Slash.
Bravo. John, you want to take it next?
Mine is a Slash story. It doesn't involve a band. I don't think I have a very exclusive small concert rock star story, but a friend of mine was you guys all know LA, so there's this place called the Sayers Club, and it's kind of bougie Hollywood, like important people show up without announcing it kind of thing. And there's a house band, and a friend of mine was a featured singer in the house band. And he was like, he called me specifically. He's like, "Hey man, Slash is going to come down and do Black Dog with me and Superstition. So you should come down tonight." So I got me and my buddy, and we get down there, and it's very, very Hollywood. And we don't have girls with us. So the guy at the door, he doesn't know us, and it's packed. And he's like, "I'm not letting you in. He literally was like, "Do you have girls with you?" And we're like, no. You know, and we had the bag. And I'm like texting my buddy. I'm like, "Dude, the guy's not letting us in. Like, we're like," he comes out, and it like didn't work. And our friend was like, "I'm sorry." And then I don't know what happened in this 20 seconds. Sorry, there's a lot of wind. I apologize. But somehow the guy had a change of heart. Like, our friend said one more thing to him, and then he looked at us, and he's like, "All right, just the two of you?" "Yeah, just the two of us," you know? Like, it changed. Like, no, we got a secret bus over here. It's like a whole no. So he lets us in. You know what I mean? And he lets us in, and there's not really a stage. It's like a pallet. You know what I mean? It's like just 6 inches off the ground. And this is the old Sayers Club, and we go I go over to the corner of the stage, and I just hang there. I'm like, this is my spot. I'm going to be right here. There's no backstage. There's no place to hide for any of the performers. So I'm standing there, and it's like sardine can. And then at one point, I turn around because I'm by the way to the bathroom, and Slash and his now ex-wife, Perla, are right literally behind me. And I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out. And so I'm like, for some reason in my mind, I'm like, I better put my shades on. It's like a dark club. You already can't see. I'm like, I better put my shades on. This would be the coolest thing I could do. So I reach in my pocket. I put my shades on. Now I'm the cool guy in the corner with the shades on, aviators. And then I get this tap on the shoulder. And I look back, and it's like Perla is looking at me. And like kind of sheepishly, like a little kid, Slash is behind, kind of like looking. And he's like, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, there's nothing you could be sorry about. And she's like, Slash didn't bring his shades, and he doesn't like to perform without shades. Do you think he could? I was like, yep. I was like, and then I was like, and I, you know, this was years ago. I did the fanboy thing. I was like, if I can get a pic, definitely. So he's got like a handler with him, and the handler was not really cool with this scenario. He didn't like me. I mean, I get it. You know, it's packed. And he's like, all right, hurry up, over there. You know, and we're like moving everyone aside. There's literally no room for a pic. And he's like, all right, go. And we're like coming in, you know, and I'm on my way to the smile. I'm like, but I hadn't got to the smile yet. And he just snapped the pic, you know, on my phone. I look at it later. I'm literally just like Slash, like I'm annoyed to be in a picture with this guy, and so he, like, that's my only Slash photo still to this day. And he does the gig, he sits in. Side note: the drummer was like a total R&B drummer. Literally had never heard Black Dog. Not a song you want to be sitting in on when you don't know it. He was looking at the other guys like, when do I come in? Like, it was a total mess. And then the really heartwarming thing about the whole thing, and kind of told me about who he is as a person, was it was even more packed when he was done. Like, there was no leaving if you wanted to leave. And he's leaving the stage, and he's heading another way, not even near me. And I really wasn't even thinking about the shades. And his handlers are moving him to the left, I'm to the right. And just over everyone, he folded the shades and was just like leaned over. And I leaned over and grabbed my shades. You know, I still have them in a pristine glass case where air doesn't touch them. But that's kind of my, like, sort of close-up celebrity story. And
Good one.
it was just kind of cool because I was barely got in. And, you know, just that fluke of thinking shades should be on at night made me cooler.
It's pretty rad.
Ended up getting me to meet him. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I'll contact the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as I think they're probably going to want the glasses, but we'll find out. Josh, Chico, Jordan, down to you guys now. If you would, each a small venue, big band.
When I was living in Los Angeles, they always like kind of shut down the road up there by Jimmy Kimmel, and Van Halen was doing a performance that night. And I didn't know about it. I was actually working too, a similar situation. And Nazim, my friend again, calls me up. He's like, dude, you got to come down here right now. And I'm like, why? He didn't tell me. He's like, just come down here. The last time he did that to me, I didn't go, and Paul McCartney was playing.
Oh!
Yeah. And I went down there this time, and I was like, and Van Halen was there. And they're not playing yet, but yeah, and I'm getting there, and like we're stoked. We're right there, and like by the stage, they're letting some people in and stuff, and we got in. And they come out and they start playing Panama, and this is on video. They were filming. They filmed it like 3 times, but David Lee Roth comes out swinging this fucking microphone around with this big metal bass, and he swings it around, and it fucking hits him in the nose, breaks his nose, and blood just goes everywhere. And he leaves, and they finish the song, and he comes back out. And he's like, let's start that song again. They play the song, and he's got this bandage on his nose, but he nails it. I mean, it was even better. The crowd went nuts, dude.
Oh,
awesome.
that's awesome.
John and I were there for that gig too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we
That's
were
awesome.
there. And we we somehow weaseled our way from like the way back section. Somebody hooked us up and we got in the front section. So we didn't actually see it hit. Like our friends who were back, they saw it on the Jumbotron. We couldn't really tell. So all of a sudden he's just like holding his face. I'm like, what the hell is going on? That was a crazy guy.
I was dating a model at the time who had some connections to somebody there who fucking weaseled in the two degenerate long hairs to the front.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all here running with the devil?
I had no Van Halen.
Mine, we were actually working on our record, not this record, but the last record, Medicine. And we were in Santa Monica, and we were working with some of the guys from AWOL Nation at the time, just doing some co-writing stuff. And it was like 4:30 in the afternoon, and a buddy, Nick Simmons, called me, and Gene's son. And so he's like, hey, whatever you're doing right now, drop it and meet me. I think it was the El Rey Theater. Does that sound right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And
he's like, the
like,
Aquabats there.
he's like, meet me at the El Rey Theater in an hour and a half. And I was like, I can't just drop and run, like I'm working with these guys. And so he wasn't going to tell me what we're doing. And Jimmy Page had just put his book out, where it's got his face on the cover and it's all like this big coffee table book. And he just knows I'm just a, complete, fangirl about Zeppelin and Page and all that stuff. And I wasn't having it. I'm like, I'm not leaving the session. And he's like, fine. He said, we're going to El Rey Theater. Dad got us tickets. And it's Chris Cornell. It's an evening with Chris Cornell interviewing Jimmy Page. So they weren't even they weren't playing. It was it was those two guys sitting on the stage and going through this book page by page. And then on the back, they had the certain stuff they were talking about. They blow up the pictures real big. And then Chris would ask Jimmy these questions. Well, we get there and we're standing at the door after, there's the red carpet shit or whatever. And so we're sitting there, and me and Nick are, and I mean, I'm like 6'3", so I'm kind of tall, but Nick is 6'8".
He's like 6'7" something.
Yeah, I think he's like 7. Yeah, he's like 7.
I've met him. Yeah, he's a tall MM.
I come up to his shoulders. Yeah, and so we're standing there, and then all of a sudden, Brad Talinsky, that used to be the editor for Guitar World magazine, he comes by and he's talking to us. Well, we've got Page with him, so Page is like right there by us. And it was like the humna, you couldn't say anything. And so they walk Page through, and we follow them. And so we're down in this green room, and it's the guys from the Black Crowes. God, who else? Like some Kirk Hammett, some of the Talkie guys are there. So they take us to the seats, and we start walking down to find our seats. It was front row. We had both front row, and Nick's got his feet up on the stage. And these guys are like this close, it seems like. But I didn't realize that we're the two tallest guys in there. So it was like Mystery Science Theater looking. And I turn around, and there's like the guys in Metallica just pissed. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I couldn't hunker down any further, But it was totally worth it to piss Metallica off to be right there so close, They didn't play anything, but just hearing those stories and right from Jimmy's mouth and Chris Cornell, it was just incredible. That was cool.
That was cool.
Dude, you should have turned around and been like, you still on Napster's side, motherfucker? This is for the Napster to be
Where were you when I needed you? I'm always terrible with this. I was thinking the shit to say after.
Right?
And we should have one more story, though. We should get one more story, though.
Okay. Yeah, so mine isn't as exciting as these, but a long time ago, I went and saw System of a Down when they were on their very first tour, one of their very first tours. And there was literally like 17 people, including the bar staff, that was in there. And they came out and were super loud. And the guitar player was painted head to toe and just red makeup, and he was spitting blood and stuff. I was so frightened that I loved it. But yeah, that was
excellent stories, gentlemen. I would wager that I could kick all of your asses with my stories, but
give us your big one.
Yeah.
I can give you
two about this.
I was at the Molson Ice Polar Beach Party in the Inuit Eskimo village of Tuktoyaktuk.
Never heard of it.
Okay, we're done. The House of Blues in Tuktoyaktuk. No. So Metallica up there with a whole Veruca Salt and Moist. And I saw, and I've seen Metallica a bazillion times, but I also saw them. Do you know Grimey's Records in Nashville?
Yeah.
No.
Little tiny record store. In the basement, there's a wine bar, holds about 50, 75, I don't know, maybe 100 people. I saw Metallica there the night before Bonnaroo. And there's a million other things I could mention. You remember the Double Door in Chicago?
Double Door Saloon? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. The Double Door in Chicago. They're a great English band, and if you ever get a chance to see them, they're really good. Some young kids out of London. The Rolling Stones played, and those kids got a future. But
am I going to get a chance to see them?
I hope so. All kidding aside, they're supposed to come back, and hopefully everybody will be healthy when they can get things back on the road this year.
They were supposed to be doing U.S. tour this year, right?
Yeah.
And I actually saw them each of the last 2 years. I saw the D.C. gig last year. And 2 summers ago, I caught their to-date last gig in the UK. They played right outside of London. I can't think of the name of the stadium. It's the National Rugby Stadium there. And I was in the photo pit, and I shot both those shows. I'll send you guys pictures later if you want. But and they were – when I hear people make snarky comments about the age of the Rolling Stones, and I'm like, let me tell you something. Those guys will still kick your asses on stage. Yeah, they don't look pretty, but they never did. They were always kind of ugly. That was their thing. So
we saw them at Indianapolis at the Indy 500 Brickyard on the 4th of July a couple of years ago. Yeah, we were supposed to play this club 2 nights in a row, and the owner of the club canceled the Saturday night, and we're like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "You'll be fine. You'll be fine." And then he's like, and he got us all tickets, like VIP, everything. We had a suite, and it was awesome. And they kicked ass.
Nice.
And it was cool because we got to smoke a joint on the actual Brickyard track, which was kind of cool. But those guys, it was just those guys, and I think like Chuck Labelle, playing keys. It was very stripped down. They didn't have any of the backup singers or nothing. It was really awesome. Just those guys.
Oh, that's something else. Well, yeah, you could have led with that as your story. That would have been fine. Anyway, Josh, Jordan, Chico, John, Marc, thank you all for joining me for this. That was fun. Listen, I could sit here and talk rock and roll geek shit 24/7, and I think I would be fine, but that certainly fit the bill. So listen, thank you all for your time, and I wish you good health and good luck, and I hope the next time we all get together will be soon and we'll be in the flesh. But until then, have a great time.
Thanks,
Lou.
guys.
Thank you, guys. See you, boys. You too.
Thank you.
Funny guys.